and welcome to Our World, Hour of Power. You're here with Lady Pauline, and my partner is back, Stephen E. James, attorney at law, attorney at war. I'm so glad to have you back in the seat.
Pleasure, privilege, and both of them on my own. It's good to be back. Sorry I was away, but I was saving a young black life because, as you know, I'm always on the battlefield of life, 5-star general in the war for truth, justice, and equality, fighting for just us. Saved that young man 75 years in the clink. He is now home safe and sound with his family. Praise be to God.
Thank you.
And today, Glenn Greenwich, our mayor of Suffolk Boulevard, is off today, but he'll be back next week. But I have a very special guest sitting next to me. Her name is Miss Wineglass. And tell me, Miss Wineglass, what is it that you do? Because it's a very special type of job. I've never heard of the title before.
Okay, well, hi, my name is Miss Wineglass, and I'm a social broker. I guess the best way to describe that is I'm really great at bringing people together. Most of my work, a lot of my work, it requires building teams and bringing the right people together.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, how long have you been doing this?
I've been, I guess, bringing people together for at least 15 years professionally, I could say that. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 5 years. My career started in healthcare. I transitioned into entrepreneurship, and I've kind of just let the world take me and allow me to make my mark everywhere I go.
Okay, now, how do you get people together, and how do you gain a paycheck through that?
Oh, okay, awesome. That's a great question. Well, my commitment and my responsibility every day when I wake up for me is just to share information. If information comes my way and I am aware of what people are passionate about, I'm the kind of person that shares a job opportunity or an article of news with people. But beyond that, I have a platform called Power Social Events where I bring people together across different industries to have very deep conversations, intergenerational conversations. It's built on advice and people interested in finding solutions.
And you also, I was reading here, to do with sports. You have a degree from
Howard University.
Yes. In sports?
Sports medicine, and I have a minor in chemistry.
Oh, wow. So that makes you sort of like a doctor?
Well, I took a pre-med course. The MCAT in med school would make me a physician, but I definitely have a spirit for health and athleticism and understanding my body and how it works inside out. And so that's why I took a course in physiology and kinesiology and understanding myself.
And also you work in Harlem?
I do. I do now work in Harlem. I do a lot of business development consulting. I work with the Caribbean Cultural Center African Diaspora Institute. There, I'm also an ICA fellow.
And what is that? What do you do exactly?
What do I do there? So as far as their business development, my job is to preserve culture and artistry in the El Barrio community. I work with We Act, which is an environmental non-for-profit organization that focuses on spatial justice. By partnering with them with the development of the 125th Street Metro North Station, my job is to preserve the vibrancy of the culture and the people are there, to tie artists to development and make it responsible so that a new Harlem will look and reflect the people who live there and are from there.
Oh, it's wonderful. Mm-hmm. What an awesome job.
Yes. I got into this kind of work, this kind of capacity building and community building actually here in Jamaica first. As a part of the $10 billion that came into Jamaica and the development of Jamaica, what came of that through the DCA grant was the Jamaica is Arts Alliance, where I'm the project manager. So my job there is to manage and facilitate the cultural organizations and the businesses that support a vibrant Jamaica Queens.
So you also work with the bids?
I do, and I have worked with the bids specifically and a lot with Jamaica. Jamaica Avenue bid, the Sutphin bid. I've even understood the establishment of the JFK bid to support a lot of the development that's going on at the airport. But I've worked with Greater Jamaica, their team there, under the guidance of Hope Knight and Laurel Brown. They're phenomenal women, and I feel privileged to work with them and be a part of the vision to have a vibrant Jamaica and a business district and seeing the future of Jamaica Avenue.
Now, I know you have a vision, but we have We're lacking a few little things.
We do.
In this area. There's a nice movie theater, and we have maybe 2 restaurants. I think one is Applebee's, and the one that's near you, Stephen.
Chipotle?
No, yeah,
BBQs?
Oh, BBQs
Oh,
downstairs.
yes, and
Right.
those are fast chains, right? And see, that's why I appreciate Greater Jamaica for offering me the opportunity to create my restaurant tech boot camp. The purpose of that boot camp was to work with small business owners who have been here before our Chipotle's and before our McDonald's to make sure that they'll be able to survive the changes that are happening on the strip. So we have restaurants like El Rincon, Rincon Salvadoreno. They're the first Salvadoran restaurant in Jamaica, Queens, let alone New York. They've been there for over 35, 40 years. And so how does a restaurant or a business like
They're on
that?
Jamaica Avenue, if I'm
They're
not
on
mistaken.
Jamaica Avenue, right off of like 147th Street, a very visual corner, a very broad corner. And so how do you get a restaurant like that to be able to step up to the plate and compete with a Chipotle that comes with the branding and comes with the opportunity to look like a Chipotle of 2020, right?
Yeah.
So with programs like the Storefront Improvement Project, they allowed me to spearhead that project. I can help her hand by hand meet compliance and renovate her storefront. By allowing me to do the Restaurant Tech Boot Camp, I helped 10 restaurants optimize their business operations. And so it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter so that you can compete and step up to the plate and be here another 40 years.
Okay, now when you say businesses, it's not just restaurants. You talk about, because we have an attorney at law here, Stephanie James. He's on Sutton Boulevard,
Right.
and right across the street from the courthouse. So is it all the businesses?
Well, the Restaurant Tech Bootcamp focused specifically on restaurants.
Okay.
As a Google partner, I would like to continue to work with the BID and Greater Jamaica to work with the other businesses. We do have a lot of retail, but beyond that, we need to welcome our new businesses in a way that they understand the culture that's here, the people that they serve, and how we can all really work together.
Okay, that sounds great. Now, with these restaurants, is the door a part of it?
The door. I did reach out to the door. Yes, so the
One
program.
of my favorite
The
restaurants.
program didn't just focus on the downtown, right?
Okay.
Because when we think about development and preparing for tourism and being attractive, we tend to only focus on Jamaica Avenue, but Jamaica is defined well beyond Jamaica Avenue, and so we have restaurants like Island Taste and Social Corner, which are further down towards Rosedale, closer to Rosedale, and we stretched it. We offered the program all the way up to Jamaica Avenue. So I did reach out to the door. There was a very competitive process, and we narrowed it down to the 10 who needed it the most, because without the door, maybe second round, absolutely. But when I look at their business operations and I look at their visibility, they're actually in a better place than others, right? So, each one teach one and kind of just helping each other. But what came from the program is after that, we kind of created this space on Facebook and a consortium where they wanted to talk to each other further. They wanted to help each other in their business. Like, hey, if you're selling the same thing I'm selling, why don't we buy it together? If, does Postmates work for you? Oh, do you like Uber Eats over this one? And just having those conversations, allowing them to make better business choices, and also hold a lot of these platforms accountable of our business, right? Just because it's available doesn't mean you have to use it, and you want to make sure that we have equity as far as the conversation on how people are doing business with us and how we're able to offer our business services to people.
Now, how can people become part of your services?
They can reach me online at Miss Wineglass on just about every and anything. And I would love to sit and consult with you as far as optimizing your business practices, or as an entrepreneur, if you need advice on bettering your practices. I've worked with individual entrepreneurs like Kim Kimball and worked with her beauty products. Outside of being a phenomenal celebrity hairstylist, she does have a line of products. She created her own hot comb tools and tool belt, and I had an opportunity to help her get into Sam's stores, as well as create a platform that educated other hairstylists to get to her stature. So I'm very creative in my business solutions, and I'm very open-minded, and this is why I'm a social broker. I'm really good at bringing the right people to the right rooms for the right reason.
Oh, wow.
Very well
Broker.
said.
I like that terminology, social broker.
Yeah.
Well, we need help. Yes, and also tell me a little bit about, because earlier, when we was in the waiting area, we was talking about health. And I was very fascinated by some of the things that you were saying, because for the last few months, I've been suffering with sciatica. And I've been taking a lot of pain, medication and
Right.
stuff.
Prescription drugs.
Prescription
Oh,
drugs.
yes, definitely prescription drugs.
No, I'm saying as opposed to natural
Yes,
substances.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in talking to people, a few people gave me some remedies, and one of the remedies was this. I guess it's a herb that people put in foods. I know Indian people put it in there with their curry. Okay, it's Coubertin.
Okay.
Coubertin.
Yes.
How? Okay.
And that's what you
That's
had
what I was munching on. Okay.
It tastes sort of like a carrot. You
It
can just
seems
grate it
fruity.
up, you can put it in a salad, you can put it over your food, but it works wonders. Within 2 weeks I was moving and grooving, and I had a different mindset. So I would like to know how.
Wait, moving and grooving, pain-free or?
Pain-free.
Pain-free.
That's important to tell the audience. Pain-free.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So medicine has its calling, but there's a lot of other things that's out here that people need to know about that work just as well, if not even better,
Well said.
and don't have the side effects.
Right. I think as a people, though, we have to really understand what medicine is, right, and the practice of healing, because we've become so accustomed to the language used in chemical, what I would say, pharmaceutical medicine, for lack of a better term, because. The thought is that you have a disease or I can't be cured. And so there's these trigger words that kind of like play as stressors, but not really explaining how you heal yourself. And healing yourself are on a number of levels, spiritually, mentally, physically, right? So that holistic practice, that's healing, right? And so a lot of that might begin with, if it's stress and anxiety, beyond taking pills, you can meditate, right? You can decide the energy that is around you needs to be different so you're not stressed. Stress kills people, literally.
Yes.
I actually induced something in my eye where I lost part of my vision a few months back because of stress. Stress induced it. And so you have to understand that I had just lost my mentor. She had passed away. There were a number of traumatic things in my life that just seemed like, and as much as we try to hold things down, stress can hurt you and harm you. And so the sooner you're able to create ways or figure out what brings you peace and solace and finding your stability and your center, kind of like we were saying outside, right? Our body is an instrument that has to be centered in all things, in all ways, and holistically, that is healing yourself. So on the physical level, like you were sharing, what we put inside ourselves and what we eat, our body is made up of a number of cells, right? And these cells 80% of our body is water-based, right? And so our center relies on our body keeping that equilibrium, right? If I go below that, I require myself to drink. If I go above that, I need to perspire, right?
Yes.
And so the same as you were sharing, diabetes. Oh, I need to cure my diabetes. It's wrong to think that you're incurable. We need to reverse and find stability in your sugar. Diabetes is the balance of is the off balance or the management of your sugar, and so we were sharing that to be hyperglycemic means I have too much sugar. To be hypoglycemic means I have less sugar. But you can use natural fruits that are abundant in sugar to kind of help you balance that out, right? Or you can decide I can't have those fruits because they give me too much sugar. Right, so these are the
you have
things.
to basically know which side you're on.
Which side you're on, and you can gauge those things. I think it really begins with the conversations you're having with your doctor, and that's part of the reason why I transitioned from healthcare into entrepreneurship. I felt that healthcare wasn't. Beyond all of the nuances that are in and of healthcare, for me, I really just wanted to help people being better people. Being in healthcare and getting my feet wet on my run, I started to understand what kind of doctor I wanted to be. I thought that helping people and helping the world for me was going to be patient by patient at the bedside. And then I realized that I could actually affect more people when I started focusing on the employees. I noticed that, they spend most of their life here, but they're not happy. They're under pressure. I even witnessed a star nurse basically passed away 2 days after Christmas, and her position was up before her obituary was printed. And so for me, those kind of things said, no, your health matters, stress matters, people matter. How can we take care of people better? And it's really, how do you have the conversations with your doctor? How do you ask them the questions that really give you the ability to know yourself? What is going on with me?
Well, one of the factors that I've realized and has been spoken on is social media. That it does create a lot of stress, and we spend a lot of time now on our phones, our computers, our tablets,
Yes.
and we're doing a lot of different movements that we wasn't doing before.
Right.
And it's also creating different
Anxiety.
a lot of anxiety.
Good point.
And I know as an attorney, I know that's your business.
Constantly under stress.
Yes.
Because we take on, as attorneys, we're like the sponge of other people's problems.
Right.
I like to say that we go around either putting out the fires that people cause in their lives or untying the knots of people's lives. And, you go from one fire
To
the
another.
next.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Right, absolutely. I mean, even with the kids, it's funny. I had a colleague the other day mention to me that there's like this new neuromarketing, and the idea that marketing strategies are being based on your practices, on how much you swipe left and right, but they're banking off of your anxiety almost. They're banking off of the anxiety that you have to go to your phone and make this motion,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then beyond that, your ability to attain information has now been reduced to like these 60-second spurts. Like, sometimes even find myself having to read longer periods of time just to challenge myself to throwing myself off from being on Instagram where content is so small and tightly packaged.
Right.
I used to sit and read for hours without a break, but to ask a child who's glued to their phone to do that nowadays is pretty challenging. So there is, it's very interesting, and that's that right there is beautiful that you're able to identify. Wait, this is awkward, and I feel edgy about this.
Yeah,
I need to put my phone down.
Right.
I need to go breathe. I need to go run. I need to read something that's longer than 60 seconds.
Yesterday I had a terrible day, and I had the phone in my hand, and I was like, I'm going to kill this phone. I felt like I wanted to break it.
Right.
And I'm trying to, do what I have to do, but it was creating more anxiety.
Right.
Then it was relieving.
Yeah,
But
it
I
was relieving.
think what also kind of speaks with social media, it's kind of reflecting itself in people's personalities now, right? I feel as though we're becoming a culture or people that really want instant gratification. Instant gratification is like this underlying nuance. So I need it now.
Right.
It has to be done now. It has to go out now. It didn't happen if a picture didn't show now. There's times I go on vacation. I don't feel compelled to give you a play-by-play in real time. One, because I don't want to get robbed that that I'm away for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Do you find that in your line of work, Stephen? People coming in and wanting instant gratification?
Well, yes, but they do often understand that the practice of law is actually a process.
Right, okay.
So they don't really have that urgency.
patient.
Yeah. They know they have to be patient. And in many instances, the type of law that I practice, people are not in a hurry to get to the bottom line. They just want to, they just want to try and forget about it. Actually,
Right.
Call me next month if you have to.
Refreshing, but yeah, I feel that in a lot of people's energy, because the need to post, or the fear, like we call it FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? Fortunately for me, I don't have the fear of missing out. And I don't also feel compelled to live in this world where my life didn't happen if I didn't post a picture. Okay. Yeah.
I would like to say we're here at Our World Hour of Power Hour here with Stephen E. James, my wonderful co-host. I'm glad that you're back. You look so great
Praise
sitting across
God.
from me.
Thank you.
And our guest, Miss Wineglass, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I also would like you to tell people how they can reach you in case they want your services. That's very
Okay,
important.
sure. You can reach me online on Instagram, LinkedIn, Miss Wineglass. That's MS Wineglass, like you drink from, WINEGLASS. You can also subscribe to my Power Social Events series at powersocialevents.com and subscribe.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much, Ms.
Thank you for being on
Wineglass.
the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Stephen, how can people reach you?
Well, you can reach me at the law firm of Stephen G. James, 87-66 Sutphin Boulevard. That's here in Jamaica, Queens, New York, right across the street from the Supreme Court on Sutphin near Hillside Avenue, or by phone, 646-905-9000, 646-905-9000, and of course, on our website, stephenggjames.com, StephenGjames.com. Always here, working harder to serve you better.
And this is Lady Pauline, and you can reach me at Our World Media Magazine, #1, and Our World on Suffolk News, #1, on our Facebook and our YouTube channel and Instagram and all that good stuff. So thank you all for listening to the Hour of Power.
Amen.
Our World.
I am your host with the most, attorney at war, Stephen G. James, along with Lady Pauline Swift, and our guest, Miss Wineglass,
Yep.
our social
Broker.
broker. That's wonderful. Folks, you've noticed I have not been here for the last 2 shows because I was out saving a life. As you know, I practice law, primarily criminal defense work, among other areas of law, but my bread and butter is criminal defense work, and I had a matter before the State Supreme Court here in the County of Queens in which a young man was facing 75 years in prison, and he's only 25 years old now.
Wow.
So we had to really take a little time away and really focus in on the work at hand because we had someone's life in our hands. And I'm happy to report the efforts were well worth it because he is now free, not guilty on all charges, and home with his family. So praise the Lord for that. And I am back here where I'm supposed to be on Saturday afternoons.
Yes.
Doing our show.
I'm happy that you're back.
Yes, and I want to mention that our brother co-host, Glenn Sutphin, otherwise known as Glenn Greenwich, the mayor of Sutphin Boulevard, is out today, but he'll be back next week Saturday as well.
Yes, he will.
Praise
Yes,
God.
he will. And next week Saturday, we also have a special guest coming on, Adrienne Adams, our councilwoman for this district. So we look forward to hearing from her and what's going to be going on in the community.
Beautiful.
You know?
That's next Saturday,
Yeah, next Saturday.
the
The
13th,
13th, yes.
at 5, from 5 to 6.
5 to 6.
Same
exactly.
bad time, same bad channel. Don't you touch that dial.
You know something that I've been thinking about, because I saw it on television a few times this month. They were talking about Atlanta, Georgia, the murders that was happening in the 70s.
Oh,
Okay, there's a writer that has written a play
okay.
on the situation.
Oh, the Wayne Williams case.
Yes, exactly. And so it's coming back into the public eye.
Right.
And a lot of people have comments, and they're saying that the person that
Was convicted was not the right person.
Was not the right person. It was a rush to judgment.
Right.
And I know as an attorney, you understand that point of view.
Absolutely, and I remember that case very well. In fact, I followed that case when it was going on in the late 70s, early 80s. Wayne Williams was a young man at the time who was a loner, not much of a social person. And when the child murders and kidnappings were taking place, some people speculated that it might have been the Klan involved.
Yes, that's what they thought.
Back
yes.
at that time. However, after some investigation, and some people question how thorough and good the investigations were, they came with the name Wayne Williams. He was arrested, he was charged, he was indicted and prosecuted and ultimately convicted, but never in the death of a child. He was convicted of killing 2 22-year-old men. And but it was in connection to the investigation of the Atlanta child murders. That's a factoid that many people don't remember or don't know, that Wayne Williams was never convicted of killing any children, although he was arrested in connection with that child murders case. Yes.
Now, something, Ms. Wineglass, I wanted to ask you, being that you really deal with a lot with social media. In the 70s, we didn't have that option, social media, to deal with all the different things that's going on in the world like we do today. What do you think it would have been like to be able to have social media in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. You know what? I believe, for me, I feel like there's a duality to everything. But I think it would have been amplifying and really empowering to see, because during that time, you guys already had your own ways of mobilizing social justice and satisfying your movement towards civil rights. I think you responded to it in your own way. Social media would have only amplified those efforts, being able to socialize it on a scale that you didn't have because media wasn't on your side, right? Even if the story was captured, it was getting it to a credible platform that would even share Black lives being disrespected, right? So for me, it would have been empowering. I think you guys would have done a good job using it when you need to use it. But I think the 70s and 80s were a a colorful time for Black people.
That was before your time, I
It's
presume.
before me, right? Yeah.
You handled the question and the answer
Yeah.
very well under those circumstances.
Stephen, now how would you handle things differently back then?
Well, I was around
You was around.
and practicing law.
That's true, you were. Yes, it's been 30-something years.
Yes, and we didn't have social media, as you know. Well, I'll give it a prime example. I represented a lot of prominent, as I do even today, but a lot of prominent political figures back in the 80s and 90s, one of whom was the Reverend Al Sharpton, who we now know is the head of NAN, the National Action Network, based here in New York City, primarily in Brooklyn, headquartered in Brooklyn. And, there was some rumor back then that he was an FBI informant and a police agent. And people, that rumor circulated a lot. There was not a lot of legs to it, not a lot of proof for it. But lately, in the last week or so, that has resurfaced, and there's been news reports. In fact, he's been identified by his FBI code number, C71, as an FBI agent back in those times. And he's been exposed as someone who has, in fact, tried to set up Don King and the prominent boxing promoter back in the
Where do you get all
70s,
this
80s.
information from? That's one thing about you that I miss. All the information.
The facts. I love that.
It's all right up in ya, up in the noggin.
And that's where for me the duality comes in, because social media can be empowering, but however, I think the court of public opinion has sometimes been a bit harsher in giving judgment or passing judgment or how we decide to solve our issues or decide that we're going to have a real conversation.
Right.
So what that looks like, I don't know that social media can satisfy that. I think you just got to bring the people together and be frank.
Right. Well, and Al Sharpton, to his credit, didn't deny it. He simply said that he didn't look at himself as a snitch, but someone who was doing a public good. So
From the inside.
by trying to help the government detect criminality.
But he didn't identify who they called the criminal. For me, it's like the question when people say they're stakeholders, who are those people? Who do you call your stakeholder? So who were, it's interesting. As long as he's not denying it, if he's going to own it and talk about it, then let's talk to the man.
He's not denying. No one has denied it.
Okay, well.
Today there's no denial of it. Back then there was, but there was no evidence. And the reason why I brought that as an example in response to your question, Pauline, is because social media plays a part now in that information getting out, and also certain proofs, like him making a statement, news reports, and other things that are now available that you can actually record and dispense via social media. So whereas back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it was word of mouth. If the mainstream media refused to report it, or even some of the non-mainstream media refused to report certain things, the word never got out.
Right.
Now, you don't need mainstream media to report anything. You don't need any sort of media. An individual can become his or her own reporter. Which, if you have a following, or if you have access to, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Spotify,
Right.
okay, YouTube,
Right.
you can get your own information out there and present your own proofs.
Right.
Look at the phenomenon of Nipsey Hussle.
Absolutely.
After his death, I think he's way more popular now than he was a week ago.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
He would have been killed a week ago tomorrow, right? And a week ago today, most people never heard of him on this coast.
That's true.
yeah, I mean, he's like reclimbed the charts.
Right. I mean, he's relevant, really,
Yes.
outside of his hood.
Yes.
He was known in his area. He was known in L.A. He was known specifically in Compton and in that area. Crenshaw. Yeah. Crenshaw. Well, no, all those areas he was known, but he was from Crenshaw. But he was known there, but people weren't buzzing about him in New York.
No, they weren't.
They weren't buzzing
No.
about him on the East Coast.
No.
You know, his music wasn't, top 100.
No.
He wasn't one of the top rappers in the country. But because of his death, and I think it
Now
was
he-
Biggie who said,
said.
no one loves you until they kill you. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and he proved that by his own death.
Death.
But no one loves you until,
You're gone.
he means the public. The public doesn't really start buzzing and missing
Appreciating
you until you're dead. And that's what happened in the Nipsey Hussle situation. But it's social media that, lit that fire and got Nipsey Hussle the prominence that he now enjoys in death.
So
Right.
basically,
Social media.
social media is not going away.
Oh, no.
No.
No, maybe some of the mainstream newspapers are going away.
Right.
As your president likes to say, maybe the New York Times is going away, but not social media. That
Right.
is the new reporting agent.
It is. The only thing, and this is where the duality again, my only issue with anyone being able to pick up the mic is just finding the facts, because we jump to conclusions and a lot of us don't fact check or reference what we're seeing. Where it's, again, that anxiety and that the flicking of the thumb, it's very easy to repost before I say, hey, is this actually real?
Yeah, does it make any sense?
I'm going to be honest. I had to be, I was guilty of it the other day, and I'm pretty good at checking, but I was honestly, it's been a very emotional week with the death of Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, and your mentor.
My mentor was in May with I think, but just in general, I think for the world, I think if you really respected this man in any capacity, you felt like you lost a cousin, a brother, a loved one. I personally lost my best friend to gun violence. So just to hear the news felt like I was reliving the moment of hearing the news again.
Yeah, you related to it.
And so
that
it
way.
immediately ripped the heart out of my chest. And just to see such a bright mind, an ambitious person, and really putting he walked the walk and talked the talk. And I
Right.
think it doesn't become more respectful and respected than that. So, but what's beautiful is now we have the birth of new philosophers. How many people discovered him this week? How many children heard the music and decided to go home and download all the albums? I mean,
Right.
that's honestly the way I fell in love with Tupac. I was a kid when he was murdered, but my freshman class in high school was Search for Self, and so the teacher puts the rose that grew from concrete and had whited out the author, and so we read it out loud, and she goes around and says, okay, so who's the author? And we're naming all of these like prolific philosophers and people, and she's like, no, Tupac Shakur. And I literally, that was the time of like where we could download our music, and I went home and downloaded every album. I found every clip where he had spoke, and I really just relived this fandom until he was downloaded in my mind in a way that changed the way I saw myself and how I responded to the world and what I could do. So, yeah.
It's funny you should mention Tupac because not only, in my day he was around and I was an adult when he was murdered and knew his music well. Second sat with brother Michael Tarif on his case in Manhattan.
Wow.
That was on Livingston Street. So got a chance to meet him. I represented the Nation of Islam who was protecting him at the time.
Right.
So I was intertwined. But the people in your age group and even younger can appreciate someone like Tupac who they were too young or maybe had not been born
To
yet.
live with, yeah.
Right. When he was really out making music and dancing at Nell's and doing his thing.
I couldn't go to the club at that time.
Right. But when he was actually walking the streets
Right.
and getting into trouble here in New York, his fame, his image, his work lives on, and a lot of people only know him through social media. So that's another positive outgrowth
Right.
of social media that, you can see his speeches, as you said, some of his writings, some of his live interviews, right on social media. I saw a clip of Biggie before he became famous. He was like 17 years old, and he was rapping out in Bed-Stuy in front of the bodega,
Right.
and I reposted that. So, and he was just as smooth at that point as he was the day he was killed,
Yeah, I see
unfortunately.
that you do a lot of posting.
I do a lot of, because I'm always trying to educate and let people see who these folks they may have just heard about were. Because these are folks that were alive in my day. I wish I could have seen Sam Cooke clips and
Right.
interviews.
And
you
I
know?
love that stuff. I'm a huge fan of just going back and like diving into that. I mean,
Yeah,
even,
Jackie
like,
Wilson, Sam Cooke. I would have loved to have
Yeah.
heard
Martin
their
Luther
thoughts.
King, I would
Right.
love to see all
More of his
More, yes.
thoughts. Right.
And even some of the singers, I think what came out of just like Motown and like the story of music and civil rights, because it was a challenge to just have the right to perform,
Right.
and to see the cohesion with music and entertainment. I would love to see that now.
Beautiful.
You know, because that was, I mean, even when we saw Aretha pass and we realized how much she had financially put into the movement,
Right.
like that is real power.
Right.
You know, Stevie Wonder, I mean, when was the last day he saw daylight? But he hears and he says, okay, in response to that young man being shot in Florida, if they're not going to respect his life, I will never perform there again. That's taking your social platform and your power and your reach and ability and saying, no, enough is enough. And
Right.
I love that. You know, I feel
Yep.
like we all have the opportunity to step up in our own way. And so we had some really great entertainers that made examples.
That's
of that.
right. Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Muhammad Ali.
And when I saw his, it's slipping me right now. He was like best friends with this old singer back in the day. He was like, I'm pretty and he's pretty. Oh,
you
man.
Was it
I
Otis
just
Redding?
saw this movie. No, it wasn't Otis.
Little Richie?
No.
No. I'm going to get it before we get out of here. But just all of those, all of those beautiful moments and seeing how they just took their platform and then blended it together. But
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yep.
Good conversation.
Yeah,
that
then
was really
we came back
good.
for another segment. Ladies, we are here at the end.
Yes.
We are.
You could take us home.
Yes, this has been Lady Pauline for Our World, Hour of Power. And we are here every Saturday from 5 to 6 on Caribbean Buzz TV and Caribbean Buzz Radio. And also you can listen to us also on Spotify, I want to say. That's another platform that we just got on recently. And
iTunes and YouTube, as well as Facebook.
And Instagram.
No, stop.
Instagram.
No, Instagram's not the type of
No,
part. She's just joking.
Oh, well, Ms. Wineglass is on Instagram.
She's just teasing y'all. And Twitter, no. But yeah, those are all the major vehicles.
Platforms, yes. And I'm very glad again to have my partner back.
Praise
Welcome
God,
back.
glad to be here. Thank you, ladies,
It's
for
been
having
a
me.
wonderful show.
Praise
Thank
God.
you.
We will see you guys next week. God bless. Be well.